Hello and welcome to this episode of Club Thrive, the podcast with me, Kate Sterling. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in again and for your rates and reviews and your shares. I truly appreciate it. It means the world, and it also helps to help other people because it helps to spread the word, which is what we're all about here. The more, the merrier. How are you doing? I feel so much better this week. I had a real doozy of a week last week. I'm not sure if it was just hormones or general life stuff or just making a couple of errors in my week, which then became the energy and the focus. And it's what inspired me for this week's podcast episode, because sometimes when you've got all these parameters or these things that are kind of coming up for you, whether it is your energy or whether it is challenges or just things that just aren't quite going right, they can really derail you, whether it's from your goals or just even from living well. And last week, I don't know what happened. I think it was a combination of a number of factors, but it kind of started with really losing a lot of energy. And I'm pretty good now at if I'm knackered, and I encourage you to do the same. So really, just accept that you're tired and that rest is something that you potentially need, especially if you're self-employed, you run your own business. Your energy is kind of like your superpower, really. It's a bit of your currency because it's what attracts other people to work with you too. So when that starts to take a nosedive, it can be a bit detrimental to your work, because you know that at the end of the day you need that energy to show up with that confidence and that self-belief and that presence. And it doesn't take long for the kind of like the snowball effect to happen, where as soon as you start to just the energy drops, and then it's like, oh, actually I'm not as good at that as what I thought I was. And then maybe you make a mistake because you're tired, and then the cycle of thoughts comes in and you're like, oh my god, now I'm just a terrible person. And I mean, that escalated very quickly in that example. And I used to live in that energy, which is why I'm very passionate about helping you not get stuck in that place. And so this week's episode, I wanted to give you a framework, a step-by-step guide of how you can break that cycle. And so if you are high achieving and you're ambitious and you also give yourself a hard time a lot, you are basically your harshest critic. And this was something that I got given as feedback quite a bit when I was at drama school. They're basically like, you're kind of just setting yourself up to fail all the time because you're never going to be good enough. And I don't know if that resonates with some of you, but I think if you are someone that cares a lot about your work and you care about what people think of you, which is human nature, that shows a strong work ethic, that shows that you really care. We can then be very much affected by our own perception of our abilities, but then also the words of other people. So we then put so much value in the words of others, so that even if basically someone has had a completely different life to you, they have completely different experiences to you, you might still hear their voice louder than your own self-belief voice or your own inner cheerleader or whatever you want to call it, which then gives everyone else the power, and you then lose that ability to be in control of how you're feeling, of your actions, of your mindset, and everything becomes this loop, this really like hard loop to live within. And also what happens then is that it's very hard to keep creating that space between the thoughts and the feelings. So you'll have a thought about yourself, or you'll have a thought and reaction to something that's happened, and immediately you'll have a physical reaction too. And then that's what can drive a cycle of whether it is things like, comfort eating or turning to things like alcohol to kind of numb that feeling, or whether it is to go into a pattern of restriction, or whether it's literally just to get stuck in a cycle of negative thoughts. And so I get it. And I really think at the minute as well, like we're in August 2023, there's strikes going on. I've had so much feedback via people I'm working with, and also just you guys out there, that the information we're getting as creatives is the industry's quiet. If you work in the kind of TV, film, that kind of space, it's quiet. Agents are telling clients to go and get other work or whatever it is. And so that can then also become the narrative. Oh, there's no work out there. Oh my gosh, my career's over. Or it becomes like, oh, well, I'm not getting the work, and there is still work out there and I'm not the one getting it, so therefore I'm not as good. And so it's being really conscious of these thoughts that you have around the situations that are going on in your life, based on the information as well that you're being given by other people, so that you can take that information in and have it there, but you don't have to react to it straight away. You can rationalize with it. You can give yourself that time and that space to kind of really question what is true, to really find the proof of the thoughts that come in, so that you can say, hang on, no, that's not a true, you're lying there. I'm not getting the work because I'm not good. I'm not getting the work because it's quiet. but also that doesn't necessarily mean that my career is over. There is also work going on, because look, that person's getting a casting and that person's working. So that also it doesn't become this kind of, what one person is saying becomes the narrative of our whole life. And likewise in business or whatever, yeah, lots of people go on holiday in August, but there will also be people who want to pay for your services, or that also want to work with you, or that this time can be used in a really beneficial time to set up the rest of the year. And so these mindset shifts that you can have can really give you the power back, can give you that sense of like, oh, actually I am in control. And this is what really, really, really helps to get you out of like that hole. And I say this completely from experience. I did a post on my Kate Sterling Instagram today about, and like this, I don't know how it's going to go down, but how there are kind of two types of creatives. And at the minute there's kind of type 1 who is, and none of this, by the way, is said with judgment, because I have been in both of these camps, and I know how hard it is when you are a high achiever. You really care about your work, you really care about what people think of you, like I was saying, and also you care about what your friends and your family think of you. But I was saying, or I did this post where I was like, there are two types of creatives right now. There's a type that will use the strikes and the quiet industry murmurings as evidence that their careers don't stand a chance, and to be miserable at all costs, and to feed the narrative that they're not enough. And you could replace that with you. So I'm just going to do that now. And I'm not saying this is you, but this is what it kind of then feels like if you hear it. And if this resonates, just take note and just know that I've been there, and I'm going to give you the tools to help you get out of it if this is how you're feeling right now, because I get it. It's not nice. So there's a type who will use the strikes and the quiet industry murmurings as evidence that your careers don't stand a chance, that you're going to be miserable at all costs, and you're going to use it to feed the narrative that you are not enough still. Because generally, when you are not feeling like you're enough, you will look for evidence that says that proves it as a point. And this is where we can get stuck in a victim kind of mindset. And I'm not saying that accusationally. I'm saying that from a place that I got stuck in that place. And it's not like, I always kind of think of that poem, when you go into the garden and eat worms, sticks and stones might break my bones, and all that kind of stuff. And the thing is that actually that's two completely different things. This is what my brain does. I'm so sorry. It jumps off to one kind of, starts on one idea and goes off to the other. So that's two nursery rhymes. But the first one of kind of, I can't remember what the first half of that nursery rhyme goes, but it's along the lines of poor me, going into the garden to eat worms. And the sticks and stones one is completely different, and I will reference that. I don't actually agree with that nursery rhyme at all. I think words are one of our most powerful weapons and tools, which is why this is all about words, right? This is all about language. It's all about how you pick up words. It's all about how you hear words. It's all about how you interpret sentences, how you interpret words that are given to you, and the feelings that they can have for you. And that's why I think words are actually some of our most devastating tools, and also empowering tools. And it's why they have so much weight and so much meaning. And I don't think that nursery rhyme is true. I think that actually sticks and stones may break my bones, and actually words can be the worst thing ever. I feel that from experience. Anyway, I've gone off on a right tangent. So I'm going to swing back to this post that I did on my Kate Sterling Instagram about being two types of creatives right now. So the first one is the type that will use the strikes and the quiet industry murmurings as evidence that your careers don't stand a chance, and to be miserable at all costs, and that to feed the narrative that you're not enough, or that they are not enough. And then there is a second type, and this is the type that I'm going to hopefully give you the tools to become. The type who sees this as an opportunity to get creative, to prioritise their health, mindset, well-being, to still believe their career has legs unless they decide enough is enough, and to enjoy the quieter moments this time might provide to get them ready for the opportunities ahead. And so I'm going to, again, swap out the words, because look at the difference that can make. So the second type of creative is the type who sees this as an opportunity to get creative, to prioritise your health, your mindset, your well-being, to still believe your career has legs unless you decide enough is enough, and to enjoy the quieter moments this time might provide you to then get ready for the opportunities ahead. Oh, my days, mind blown. Just see how the different perspectives, I've just given myself goosebumps. That's really cheesy. I'm sorry. I can't believe I just said that. But do you see how the different perspective and the different place, those are two different types of perspectives. Both are fine. Both happen. I've experienced both sides of those. Both are very real. Both can be places that you are in. And it's about being able to recognise when you're maybe in one or the other, to then decide which one or the other you want to be in. And I use this experience a lot after like after my divorce, when I really got stuck in a very, very, very low place. And I think this is probably where feelings of depression and feelings of lack of hope can really come in. And if you feel that and you've been trying to get out of it for a while, go and see your GP, please. You know, you can do all the things in the world, but if you're still feeling really, really, really low, please go and seek some help. Go and speak to your GP, go and get some therapy. I did all of those things, and I was also practicing yoga, eating really well, doing lots of exercise. Sometimes we just need help, and there is nothing wrong with taking help as well. And so in these moments, we kind of have a choice in terms of how we're interpreting information as well. And this is true as well after situations where you've maybe made a mistake or that haven't gone to plan, or that you end up in that ruminating cycle of self-deprecating thought where you're just constantly putting yourself down. And all of this comes from both an experienced place of working with people, but also from a very personal experience, And because I've been there, and I have spent the last 20 odd years practicing and working and getting out of these brain and these thought cycles. And that is the other thing to say to you, is that, you know, these things are not going to happen overnight. I can't remember the exact quote, but there is something about, you know, Usain Bolt said that he trained for 4 years for a 9-second run. 4 years for 9 seconds of time. 4 years of training to do something very well in 9 seconds, like a minuscule moment of time. And I think we are very conditioned now, because we have so much stuff that we have on tap. We can get whatever information we want instantly on Google. We can get whatever we need delivered straight to our door. We're very used to getting things instantly. And it's very frustrating when we don't get them instantly. And whether that's from a physical change, whether you're trying to get fitter or stronger, whether it's from, I don't know, like losing or gaining weight, whether it's from your career. We want things now, and it is so frustrating when we don't get them. And because that narrative then feeds into the bigger picture of, well, I'm not getting what I want, I'm not good enough, look at everyone else, because then what you do is you go and seek out everyone else that is doing better than you. And we do it just by nature. We just find the proof without even realizing it. And then you get stuck in that echo chamber of everyone that's succeeding, and you feel like you're completely alone. Whereas actually the reverse is probably true. There's like 1% of people that are doing incredibly well, and the 99%, the rest of us, are actually just living our lives. And so it's also about where we put that focus and where we put that value. And so it's also saying, okay, well, in the bigger picture, and that going back to that creative analogy of the industry right now, in the creative industries, it's about saying, okay, well, the bigger picture is that actually a lot of people are having a challenging time. I'm not alone in this. It doesn't mean that I'm not good at my job. It doesn't mean that there isn't possibility. But then there's also a balance of, well, actually, I've been really, you know, if you look at the context of your life and you look at your timeline, maybe you've been trying for 10 years and you're actually just physically exhausted and you need a break, and you need to go and earn a consistent income, or you need to go and actually have some fun in your life, and you need to let go of the pressure a little bit. All of these things are things that I've done to balance everything, to kind of flip the coin and swing the pendulum the other way, to get a full experience of life as well. And the thing is that I'll give you all these ideas, and it's then for you to really explore them and to take what works for you and to let go of what doesn't, because ultimately we're all very similar in human nature and as individuals, regardless of our of our gender, our background, our beliefs. But actually we're also then very different in that, because of our experiences and because of everything that might have happened to you or for you in your life, and how you interpret that and how you respond to it and how you deal with it. And when you start to kind of hear it from that place of, you have that power to interpret and to decide how you want to move things forwards in your life, you get that power back. And I understand fully that some people have truly, truly challenging lives. I say all of this from a place of privilege. I really recognise that. You know, I'm like a white middle-class woman who grew up in an environment that was not at all deprived, and so I am fully aware that there are people that haven't had that foundation. But also I've had challenging things happen to me, and that doesn't mean that those things aren't also important in the picture of my life, and that as an individual, don't judge your reactions to things, because it's based on your experiences that you've had so far, and it's about how we interpret these things and how we move forwards on them that matters. And that's what helps you get out of that depth of despair, or that feeling of feeling stuck, or that feeling of actually what I want to do is different to what I feel like I should do based on who I am and my past and my family and my upbringing and my socioeconomic background and all of these kind of things. If you only have to look at people that have had extremely challenging lives, that have gone on to extreme success in terms of what we might interpret success to be. And everything basically can be caveated. And we live in a time now where everything also kind of has to be caveated. And I find it really quite stressful sometimes, because I'm like, do I need to caveat that, or can I just move on? Can I just say it's okay to want to do this? And do I have to say, but also this, and this? It's tiring right now. And actually sometimes we just need to be like, oh God, actually, I don't like this. I like this, and I want to do that. And then that's actually okay too. And that comes back to this place of, how you interpret situations, and swinging it back round to giving you some tangible things that you can use. This, when you've made a mistake, for example, and you're someone that really cares and it's really bothering you, it's had a physical reaction inside of you, this is something that you can do to help you move forwards. And if this resonates with you a lot, the episode, I think it's episode number 11, I think it was last week's episode, about self-sabotage and also being able to move forwards without self-sabotage. Yeah, episode 11, last week's episode. This ties into it as well, because ultimately this is what helps you break through and move forwards every single time something challenging happens, rather than getting stuck in that loop of self-deprecating, I'm not enough thought cycle, everyone's better than me, blah, 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 whatever it is. And I'm not doing that to dismiss it, because it's horrible, it has a very physical reaction, but this process will give you the opportunity to be back in control quicker. And the more you do it, the more practice you'll get at it, the stronger that mindset connection will be, the stronger the thought cycle will kind of become a natural, like a muscle, like something that you can just do. So let's take a breath. And I just want to make sure. Yeah, and this also happens, I think, after we've done something that we care about, that means a lot to us, whether it's an audition, whether it's in a rehearsal space, whether it's submitting work to something. I get it often if I've been a guest on podcasts, or if I've done any public speaking where I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I answer that question like this? Or I wish I'd said that. And you can get really stuck in the, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that, I should have done that kind of cycle. And it completely detracts from everything you actually have done in that room or in that moment. And so it's really important as well, when that starts to happen, to be like, hang on, actually, what I said was this, and that was great, and what I did was that, and that was trusting my instincts, and that's really good. And at the end of the day, I will learn from the experience, whatever happens. And I might get the job, I might not get the job. If I didn't get the job and I could do better, then great, I'm going to take responsibility for that, and I'm going to get better. If I didn't get the job and I was nervous and I was giving myself a hard time, okay, what can I do to walk into that room with more confidence, to walk into a podcast better prepared? Was I rushing into it? Or maybe I should have got the earlier train. Like, all of these things, rather than it being giving yourself a hard time, there's loads of opportunity to then be better next time. And then that is what develops that growth, what I guess we call a growth mindset, an expansive mindset, an expansive life, a life that is full then of possibility. Whatever shit hits the fan, you're able to kind of pick yourself up and move forwards from it. And obviously sometimes there are going to be events that have a bigger impact than others. And what I'm not saying is that you pretend that you're okay if you're not. I'm not saying I picked myself up after my divorce and just walked out the door. Like, that took me years. These things can take time, and there is nothing more annoying than people saying, oh yeah, time's a healer. If you are feeling challenging things, it's important to acknowledge them, not just to be like, yeah, I'm sure time will be, but it'll be fine in a couple of weeks, whatever. It's good to have that balance, but also don't feel like you can't process the feelings that you have. That's where journaling can come in. That's where exercise can come in. That's where, getting on your happier music to channel a different shift, a different perspective can really help to just move you out of that state. Because whilst you're in that state, you're not able to deal with anything. If you're feeling like you're stuck, trying to get unstuck is challenging. If you're trying to let go of something and all you're focusing on is a thing you're going to try and let go of, you're not going to let go of it. So it's about finding different perspectives and shifting yourself out that way. And this is going to help you do that. So the 4 steps to help you with stopping a negative thought cycle so you feel empowered for the future, even if it's just the rest of your day, are this. It comes back to number 1 being stop. Whatever has happened, we need to create a pause. And you can do this by saying stop. You can do it by just literally, like putting your hands onto a surface, putting your feet onto a surface, sitting down somewhere. If you've had an adrenaline kick from something going wrong, or you've got an adrenaline kick from things not going right, ground yourself down somehow. So stopping with the breath, slowing the breath down, sitting down. Maybe it's that you're quite agitated as a result and you need to just say stop a couple of times to stop the thought cycle. Whatever you need to do, say it out loud, write it in capital letters, scream it into a pillow, look out of a different direction, look in a different direction, whatever it is, you need to create a stop. And it's a circuit breaker. So whatever you need to do to break the circuit. And then you've created that stop. And then really, if you haven't already, start to take in the environment. And I'm not just saying have a look around, like really see what you can see around you. Like, oh, look at that tree, it's green. That light is really bright. Oh, that carpet feels quite nice actually under my feet. That table's really hard. Oh, I feel like having a stretch, and like physically move into your body that way. So you're coming back into your physical self rather than your brain suddenly running the show. Where are you? What can you see? What can you hear? What can you smell or feel? Are you eating something? Are you drinking something? What's it taste like? So that you're bringing the senses back into yourself without it just being focused solely on the head and the thoughts that are coming in. Then what you're going to do is you're going to challenge the truth that's coming into your mind. So we create truths all the time that are actually completely untrue. Oh my God, I messed up that situation. That person's never going to want to work with me again. In fact, that other person might just have been like, that was a really good interview. We don't know sometimes what people are thinking. If you have messed up and we've made a mistake, like I mentioned I did last week or the week before last, I've made a mistake and someone had told me something that had made me really acknowledge that I'd made a mistake, and that felt really shit. That felt so bad. I was like, as a coach, I shouldn't have made a mistake like that. I knew I was going to make that mistake and I made it anyway. That was really dumb of me. But what I did in that moment was this. I stopped. I took in my environment. I stopped the thought cycle that was going on that was giving me a hard time. I challenged the truth. I acknowledged what was true in that. I had made a mistake. That was dumb in my perspective. And rather than going over that in my head, because I had a very physical reaction to this mistake, I decided to reflect on the fact that I was tired, that I was trying to just do my best. I was trying to build what I'm doing with work. I was trying to put myself out there. I was trying to do what I'd been advised to do with showing, social proof of the work that I'm doing, whatever it is. And that I'd made a mistake, and that in this moment I wasn't going to make that mistake again, because I really wasn't going to make that mistake again. I was discovering the kind of truth of that. And I also challenged the thought that suddenly spirals into, oh my God, you're a terrible person, you're a terrible coach, all those kind of thoughts. You're going to suddenly not be a good actor. Do you know how like you can just literally, even just think about it, you sink into the chair, like the energy just drains out of you. And kind of what you need to do almost, I think, is allow that energy to drain, because when you have a reaction to something, whether it's because you've made a mistake, you've walked out of a room and it's not gone how you've planned it, or you feel embarrassed by someone's made you feel like really embarrassed about yourself, is that you do have that adrenaline spike, you have that kick in the gut, that real like, oh my God, it literally feels like you've been punched, and you almost need to ride that wave to then let it go, to feel that tiredness, to allow it to pass through, so that you don't just kind of get stuck on that adrenaline wave. Because I think that's when the thought cycle just really spirals into that anxiety, and then that's very hard to shift. So we need to try and get off the wave of that sucker punch in the gut. It's finding the proof that you are still very, very, very capable of all the things that you want to be doing, and all the things that make you a good person, regardless of what's just happened, so that you can really come back to yourself, and that you can really challenge the truth that the kind of the thoughts that are going in your head with fact, and find the truth of the situation. And if we have messed up, we do all the time, we're humans, we acknowledge it, and taking that accountability again gives you back that power. It gives you back that potential to make a change, to move out and to move forwards. And it doesn't mean that your life is over and that you're a terrible person. Some mistakes, of course, carry more weight than others. But in order to really move forwards, we have to say, okay, I've really, whether you messed up or not. You can also then, if you've been in a space where someone's made you feel embarrassed, or you feel like a safe space is no longer safe, in a rehearsal room, for example, or you've shared your work with someone and they've kind of come back and been like, well, that's a terrible idea. And that, again, that same feeling, and suddenly that cycle, that thought cycle kicks in, and you're like, oh my God, I'm just going to quit everything that I've been trying to do for 10 years. it's about saying, hang on, that is one person's opinion. They've had a completely different perspective. They're not even a very nice person in that respect. Maybe they're also having a bad day. They're not normally like that. I don't think something like that was meant to happen. I don't think they meant it. Or if they did mean it, I don't really want to work with this person anymore. I'm going to explore my boundaries here to make sure that I am, able to look after myself in that situation should it happen again. I knew I probably shouldn't have shared that idea with that person who doesn't really understand what I'm doing anyway. Don't let the thoughts and the opinions of other people also dictate the choices that you make. As entrepreneurs and as individuals, you are going to have ideas that you think are incredible, and you're going to share them with people that don't get your world. And it's not to say that their opinions don't matter, but it is to say they don't necessarily know as much as you do about the topic, and they don't get your passion because maybe what you're thinking and what you're creating isn't for them, and therefore maybe they are not someone who's going to give you the feedback you so crave. And in order to really be boundary to that as well, it's to say, okay, well, I'm probably going to share this information with them, and they might give me a negative answer to what I want, but I've shared it with them and I don't have to listen to their opinion. Or I can listen to it from an outsider's perspective, but I'm not going to give it much weight. Whereas I'm going to share it with the people that I want to give this, whether it's a program or whether it's work or whatever, to, that are going to appreciate it. And regardless of what happens, I have my own strong inner voice that believes in myself, so that the opinions of other people don't always dictate the future that you then go down, the path that you go down. So we've got number 1, the 4 steps. I'm just going to recap them to where we are. Number 1 is to say stop. Whatever you need to do, break that circuit. Number 2 is to check in with your environment, the real world. Get really clear on what you can see, feel, hear, taste and smell. And see, yes. Number 3 is to challenge the truth in your mind, to really make sure you've got all the information you need, reflect and find all the proof that you need to prove that you are still a very decent, capable, intelligent, incredible person. Challenge the truth, find the evidence. And number 4 is decide on what you want to feel next, and then focus on that. You need to let go as quickly as you can of the thoughts. And so, like I just said, when you try and let go of the thoughts, you're just going to get stuck in the thoughts. So we need something to move towards. You need an outcome, a goal, an intention to focus all that energy that's currently stuck in your head and in your gut towards, so that you can use that energy positively. So whether it's getting some uplifting music on, breaking the energy physically, doing a dance, literally singing badly in the shower, exercise, getting out the environment you discovered the error in. Literally, are you able to move into a different room? Are you able to, lie on the floor, sit on a chair, leave the environment, get out that coffee shop, get out your flat, even if it means taking the kids with you, and avoiding hiding your emotion in food and drink. So what I would always say is that, as humans, we by nature need to comfort and soothe ourselves. There's nothing wrong with that. I do it too. Sometimes after a bad day, I'm like, I just want a gin and tonic. And it's about saying, okay, what is going to best serve me tomorrow? What is going to best serve me later in the day? Is that going to help me? Or actually, do I just need to really process these feelings and get myself to a place where I feel mentally more in control, where I feel able to trust myself more before I then go and comfort or lose myself in a packet of biscuits, or whatever it is. Again, there is nothing wrong with these things. I do them all too. But it's about making the choices that are going to set you up best, so that you don't then add extra judgment on yourself. Because what happens if you seek extra comfort in things like food or alcohol, or you overtrain or you restrict as a reaction to things not going well, is that then you've got more proof to yourself that you're a bad person, in inverted commas, and you will judge yourself more and have more shame around those behaviours. And I speak of this from experience. These are things that I have experienced personally. Waking up the next day after kind of, trying to just deal with all the stress with too much Prosecco at a barbecue, or comfort eating so much chocolate in the night that actually I feel like crap the next day. That's not, in my mind, the best way for me to deal with it. Pardon me. And so likewise, I would suggest, or kind of, again, it's an assumption, but I would give to you that maybe it's not the best way to deal with the situation. And that if it feels like a sacrifice, what are you gaining from not doing it? What are you gaining from not comfort eating? What are you gaining from not, masking your feelings in a bottle of wine? You're gaining that feeling of waking up the next day with potential. You're gaining that power back. You're gaining that feeling that you believe in yourself again, that you, and you're waking up without shame and judgment, which is the worst kind of extra ingredient to this cycle, because then you've just got, your brain will go and find the proof wherever it can to feed the narrative that you're not good enough, that you're a bad person, that you should just quit everything right now and walk away. And that's what we want to avoid. I mean, it might not escalate to that scale, but these are just all things that I share, both from a perspective of working with clients and from like 22 years of coaching, but also from my own personal experience of 22 years of sorting this out myself. So all of this is shared from experience without judgment. And the most important thing is I really encourage you to be kind to yourself, to show yourself self-compassion. And that is, again, you can loop that into deciding how you want to feel. And that part of self-compassion really can come into that. You know, I really don't want to feel like this. What do I want to feel? I want to feel calm. I want to feel in control. I want to feel just all right with myself. I want to feel whatever it is. And then the self-compassion comes in to be like, well, yeah, you made that mistake. You were tired. You knew you were going to make that mistake, and you only did it out of good intention. You made that mistake because you were feeling like X. It probably wasn't the best choice, but next time you won't do it again. All of these things, that self-compassion of you're just doing your best, you are, you only have the information that you have at the time, that you have shared it with someone that shared the thing or whatever it is, been on the podcast or put yourself out there. You put yourself out there. That is the win. It doesn't matter if it wasn't perfect. And it comes back to this thing of being comfortable as well with not being perfect. And I went down a rabbit hole on TikTok the other day of looking at, like, I don't know, how old are you when you get your A-levels? 18, 19, of people getting their A-levels. And I was like, blimey, these kids are so, well, sorry if you're like 18, 19, you're not really a kid, but I'm nearly 40, so I just feel like there's a bit of a distance, but you're not a kid at all, you're an adult. But in my mind, some of these 18-year-olds were way better put together than I am on paper. And so I say that with respect, because these guys getting their A-level results are also running businesses, and they're making, like, they're doing really, really well. And in my head, I was like, oh my God, these 18-year-olds are doing better than me at 38. But that's my perception of better, in inverted commas. That's my perception of what success is. That's my perception of what is good and not good. And it's just a different generation. It's a different time. And we can't compare ourselves to different generations. We can, but from a place of there is no right or wrong. There is just life. And so if, someone has made you to feel like you're in the wrong as well, it's their opinion, and you can listen to them, but don't assume they know better than you. Because actually, especially in rehearsal rooms, especially in spaces where you're asked to be vulnerable, if you're working with someone that doesn't respect that, that is not on you, that is on them. And then it's about creating those boundaries, and that is empowering. It's almost like the stuff that happens to us that's really shit is really good, because it means that we can move forwards actually with more power, with more control about what we want, and more autonomy and more expression of self. And so it is rubbish at the time, but by using this 4-step cycle, you can then 4-step process, you can then move out of a cycle that stops you from completely and utterly putting yourself in a gutter. And that's, again, like what you might experience if people are bullying you or anything like that. This gives you that autonomy to stand up to them and to say, no, hang on, I am right. Because in your mind and in your soul and in your gut that you are not in the wrong, and it's on them. It's not on you. No one is perfect. No one has all the answers. No one has the right to make you feel bad about yourself just because they have a different opinion, especially creatively. You put yourself out there so like with vulnerability, and it's the same, I think, as if you're a parent. I've found this a lot with parenting. Oh God, am I doing this right or am I doing it wrong? And I saw a message the other day from a friend who was like, actually at the end of the day, if the kids are fed and watered and sleeping and, well, whatever that's like, hopefully they're sleeping, but if they're well and they're happy, you've done a good job. And then it's about looking after yourself and putting your needs into the picture too, because you are important, regardless of your background. You are important and you have value, and it's from that place, from that self-belief and from that voice that you can develop yourself, that you are then able to overcome these moments that knock you quicker without them really kicking you into the curb. And it is a practice, and it is linked into as well that building that self-esteem, building that trust in yourself, building that inner voice that is able to reason with the inner critic, that's able to reason with the voice inside that comes up when things haven't gone to plan. so that you can ride those waves rather than them drowning you. And I think as well, it's super important to remember that it is a practice, and that the more you do it, it will feel easier. And that when we get stuck in a victim mindset, it's not as easy as just walking out of it. But it is about deciding how you want to feel and what you want, so that you can stop the negative thought cycle and feel empowered for your future at the same time, whilst also setting yourself up for success. Make sure that you're not making the steps that you want to move into so big that you then have more reason to put yourself down. We can be very good at doing that. So just to recap on those 4 steps: to stop. If you find that you've made a mistake, you're overanalyzing anything, or you've got stuck in that thought cycle of kind of overthinking, stop, say it out loud, and whatever you need to do, ground yourself down, find your space, and create that circuit breaker. Number 2 is to check in with your environment. What can you see? What can you hear, smell, feel, and taste to get yourself out of your head, to break that attention from the thoughts? Challenge the truth in your mind. So don't listen to those thoughts, and try and find the truth to come back at them or with them. You need to reason with that inner voice. And we're very good at creating those stories about ourselves. So find the proof that helps to challenge the negative loops and prove to your own self how capable you are outside of the mistake or outside of the situation that you wish you'd done differently. And, if there are things to learn from it that you want to do next time, take them as nuggets of gold so that you can take something positive from it. And then number 4 is decide how you want to feel and focus on that. Maybe it is going and jotting down how you're feeling. Maybe it is making a list of all the things in that moment that you feel like you need, the resources that you need that you don't feel like you have right now, so that next time it doesn't happen again, or that you feel more prepared. Maybe it's to go and listen to some music, to do some exercise, to getting out the environment that you discovered the error in, and avoiding masking your emotions too much with food and drink, or even drugs. Whatever it is, try to really ride the emotions rather than pretending that they don't exist. And none of this is about pretending you're okay when you're not. If you need extra help, please go get it. Speak to a friend, speak to a family member, speak to a GP. There's always things like Samaritans and so to say that. I know we can talk about this stuff as if it's just simple, and I know it's not. Don't be afraid to put it out there. And also, I think just this kind of last passing thought is that, like I was saying, with this idea of the 2 type of creatives, and again, not with judgment, but if you are someone that feels like you are stuck in that place of you don't feel like you're able to move out of it, you don't feel like there is any potential, you're really stuck using all the information around you that to tell yourself that you're not enough, try to distance yourself from the situation. You've probably got a bit stuck in the world of it all. See if you can observe it like you're watching your life from a bird's eye view, or you're watching it on a screen, to distance yourself from it. Give those that are, in inverted commas, succeeding less value, less worth, less size. Reduce the size of it, reduce the size of the obstacle, and turn up the size, turn up the volume, turn up the colour on what you want your life to feel, look and sound like, and how you want to feel, look and sound like in your life. And then focus on that. Focus on what you really, really, really want, and make it tangible. So it might be that you want to buy a mansion and you're renting right now. Okay, let's make it feasible, and that's a dream and a goal, great. And then what can you do in these moments to keep yourself moving towards it, so that you don't feel like you're constantly failing and constantly finding proofs to put yourself down. And to also know that if this time is a challenge for you and it is quiet, find other ways to use that time to keep charging your battery, so that when the opportunities come in that are important for you and to you in your life, you're in the best shape mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever it is, to walk, run, bolt, whatever, bound into that opportunity, because you are so ready for it. It's like you're pulling the arrow back to shoot it further. All these analogies that can really help you to visualize this time as a productive time, so it doesn't feel like it's dead space in your life. Because even quiet moments, rest is very active when you're using it as a chance to prepare yourself for whatever is coming next. And we don't know sometimes. So sometimes it's also about letting go of the outcomes, letting go of what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. Try not to control the outcome, but just doing what you can in your control to set yourself up for the best success possible in terms of whatever that means for you. I always recommend that health is a big part of that. Health is wealth, and that, you know, if you are recovering from an injury or illness right now, then that rest and that rehab is active, and it is as valuable as the person that is training for a marathon or a triathlon or an Ironman. It's all relative in the bigger picture of your life. Don't give more weight or value to someone who you think is doing better, in inverted commas, than you. Use it in the perspective of your life to really shift the size and play with the kind of perspectives, whether it is looking down on yourself from further afield, so that you kind of are able to zoom out. It doesn't feel so big, it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Whether it is to hone in a little bit to get into that detail, whether it is to shrink the size of your challenge, whether it is to chunk things down so that you're more able to achieve the things that you want, to prove to yourself that you're capable, to build your confidence, your self-belief, your courage. It's that cycle. Whew. Well, I really hope that has helped. And I want to say thank you so much again for being here. Thank you for watching, listening, sharing. If you could share this with your friends, family, audience, whatever, that'd be so appreciated. I am so on a mission here to help as many individuals thrive personally and professionally as possible. And, you know, here in solidarity, just know that anything I share on this podcast has generally come from not only a place of professional experience, but personal experience too. So there is no judgment. Self-compassion is your biggest friend. Build that inner cheerleader. Keep on going. And if you do need to take the breaks, take them. Some of the best things I've ever done have been from distancing myself from the goals, from taking a step away, from taking a breath and being like, actually, I just need to go and enjoy the sunshine today. And then I have a great idea in the shower. Letting go of the outcome sometimes actually weirdly gives you that information, the resource, the idea, the energy, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to take the break. Don't be afraid to rest. Don't be afraid to give yourself that credit where it's due, to also appreciate everything that you are doing right now. I'm sending you a massive energetic high five, hug, whatever you like. Come follow me on Instagram if you're not already. It's at @clubthrive_. You can also follow my personal account at katesterling1. You can check out the website, www.club-thrive.com, and lots more free resources coming. I have a plan. I'm just going to say this now. We're just going to make me accountable, but there is a plan to widen the free community that we have here at Club Thrive to truly help you. Let's see where that goes. And yes, keep your ears updated. Keep your ears updated. You can tell I'm getting tired. Keep your eyes peeled. Oh my gosh, I can't even think. You know what I'm trying to say. But yes. All right. Have a great week, and looking forward to checking in next week. And okay. See you later. Bye.